Our next reader. Oh, what?
Introduce Sarah.
Oh, sorry, I was confused. All right, now I'm introducing Sarah, who will introduce Jesse.
This is my reprise. Paul, you can come up and adjust the mic. Okay. In one version of this speech, Jessie Newman is a mythical creature. She's a dragon without scales, curled in a hermitic cave at the foot of a mountain. Day and night, eyes open, ear slats perked, she listens. To the shifting of tectonic plates, to a groaning, morphing world, to the whispers of old people's memories as they pass from person to person, far away in some place where people live. Sometimes, Jessie the scaleless dragon breathes fire into rocks of her den, etching into their softened forms the stories that she hears. Sometimes she flies forth from the cave and sees the strangeness of our world so often overlooked. Jessie's writing is molten. Her words are stone. Her storytelling impulse is fire. Her work occupies the space of the phase change, where form and narrative erupt in a thrilling flux. Her stories are often a dance of the ethereal and the material, often set at the site of the human and non-human body. The body, like form, like narrative, is pushed to its elemental limits, resulting in a contemplation of boundedness. Her work explores the brinks of strangeness and the depths of some shared experience that we all have as readers and as people. Delicate fraying angels descend to earth at broken construction sites. A man with excruciatingly sensitive skin learns to open himself to emotion in spite of his physical vulnerability. A civilization disappears, leaving brittle memory in its tracks. Jessie's stories are urgent. In them, body and memory is intertwined. Jessie's stories explore the necessity of storytelling and to know what it is to be fully alive. Her writing is powerful and nurturing, unyielding and gentle. Her words contain worlds. It's my pleasure to introduce Jessie Newman tonight.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for making me the dragon. I appreciate it. So I'm going to be reading a couple of short stories today, some old, a few new. Sarah's giving us issues. I'm leaving it there. Okay, so the first story is apparently called Silas, although I've been calling it Silas for 7 years. Here it is. Silas. Harsh lines scratched in like woven hair, her skin itched deep as the undershirt of a monk, so she removed it piece by piece. Delicate sunburn scrapings from the bridge of her nose, thick elbow slices. She bought a pumice brush, peeled skin away in apple curls. Unsure of whether her nails were skin, she scraped them with stone down to slivers of scratched marble. She fed the pigeons the dried skin shorn from foot calluses, gave her boy skin softly hidden beneath the chin for play. She used strips from the thigh, the calf, to patch the walls. She lost her appetite after scraping taste buds from her tongue, depositing them like pulp in the bottom of her orange juice glass, stirring on occasion with a spoon. "I am speaking to you," she said, but her voice was light without the fur of her papillae. It refracted in her glass and emerged meaningless and abstract, phonemes splaying in angles across the wall. Pulling skin from the underside of her left arm, she used the serrated edge of her grapefruit spoon to cut words among the capillaries. "I am your mother," she wrote, "and you must save me when I am stripped away. You must swallow at least the smaller bones, those of the pinky, the inner ear. You must," and here she ran out of skin. The next story is called Smith and Nelson. Moon dowsing the aluminum through and through, scraps of pillar and beam, the unrolled film of plastic bags all knitted and torn back. This is where they would live, the dirt scratched raw, everywhere a tangle. They would haunt, let nothing be built there, pilfer and break. All the foreman's nails disappeared. Buyers would fear the ghost of the place, how it angered, no sudden noise, no late night working, keep the moonlight. Buyers would feed stories to their youngest children, do not walk the lot alone. They slept beside rubble, woke with bodies pocked by stone. They ran their hands across the stubbled flesh. Hold fast to me, one said. The other said nothing, did not let go. Boy and she. She was a they who never came to pass. They knew nothing of angel wings, but themselves were mostly gossamer. They had little to hold, little preventing their recess. Some had already gone, unbound into strands indistinguishable from cloud. She was wander dust before she found him, her dark and twisted boy, bent over shy, hiding from stone, bare-necked and long-haired. He could have been sunshine. Him, the very least of men, the closest being to her she could imagine, so little to him, skin laced between bone. No family, his mother useless, his father an old photograph. So many ways for flesh to come undone. He was battered, internal and body raped. He had skin for her to cling to. He ate his meals in starts, all gristle and gnashing. He did not own a plate. Hands were used, and a knife. The darting of his throat resembled nothing so much as a swallow. She suspected him for lonely. He had a home, a house, a carpet on the floor, a cat to give him reason to return. He had hints, small gestures. He listened for small noises. She watched him close. He never gave himself away. She sent him whispers in the night, things to be remembered. Half-naked minstrels wandering through cities, where the rain came from and where the rain went, the exact color of snow. He spent his days with Greece, gentling machines of metal and movement. He returned home oil-slicked and blackened. He was another creature, this. The dark lent him layers, a new subtlety. Through it, she could see the grain of his skin. His eyes were a blue she remembered from sky. She wanted to push into them understanding of everything. This is what I mean, she said. Bent flower stalks, tires over snow. His lashes were the thinnest branches. He spindly stood, arms, legs extended, crooked. The way he folded into himself, this she could cling to. He knew none of her. She was less than a thought. The shiftings of the air meant more than she. But she was feather breath gentle upon his neck. He felt her in his smallest hairs. This she could cling to. The next story is called Lilies. It's a response to some of the stories of Andre Boriano, I hope that's how you pronounce his name, from an issue of Sleeping Fish. Lilies. Lilies are tinted differently where they are bruised by water. They dream of the lessening of color from deep red to pale to withered. In these colors are all shades of dead women. Women picked the lilies. Most women do not grow anymore. When they were girls, lilies inhaled the sun. They lost parts of themselves to the wind. Somewhere, all of these parts are gathered, a pile of tiny limbs. When they are gathered, lilies sit in a vase in the corner of a room where the dust falls. This is the room where women would come if. They leave behind a glove like a breadcrumb, and other women pick it up to find their way. They try on the glove in front of mirrors. There is little to say because language has not yet been invented. The tongue has not yet been invented. The glove never fits. In this room is a black piano for the music, though none ever comes. Candles rest upon it and flicker when even the smallest creature inhales. When they look in the mirror, the women's hearts leap from their chests like starlings from a branch or from telephone wire. The petals of lilies must peel back to blossom, and women slowly peel back their skin. What is underneath becomes a red to rival any flower. Sound has not yet been invented. The candles carry the quietest flame. Okay, and this is my last story. It's called The Travelers. Some places even their legs cannot remember. Some places are charcoal smudges lost on their fingers. When they are born, maps are tattooed to their scalps so that as their hair thins, roots emerge. They detail their palms with places they have left. They travel with fingers interlaced. They walk most often in the dark. In daylight, trees are bare as if in winter. Their hands are scraped from reaching through night. When they palm man, not tree, they feel no difference. They wear clocks strapped to wrists now, blunt clocks barely carved. Their time is not the same as other time. They have no church bells. They barely have the sun. They have the skin of rodents in their hair. They have peeled rodents with their teeth. Bones emerge sucked clean, reborn with the mouth's water. Tucked into their pockets, the bones fuse into creatures of angles and twisted necks, limbs where there should not be. The travelers' fingers are missing skin. They ribbon their throats with bones' sharp edges. They'd left behind their pots and pans, but for the feel, they would not know the size of their beards. They stop at no streams, drink only wine. They taste the sift of valleys and where a woman dripped onto the soil. They carry the wine in leather boots. They take turns going shoeless. One foot grows more calloused. They reach hills crumbled in like faces. They too crumble down the rocks, legs breaking off at the knee. They have tied bells to their shoes. Even in the dark, you can hear them coming. The bells have rusted with the road. The metal takes the bent shape of stones. They know each other from the sounds of where they've been, voices whittled to motions in their throats. Others afford only the rattle of dried beans. Hanging around their necks, these beams wither like a man. Creatures with more legs than body scratch their faces. They allow the legs to reach into the corners of their mouths. The legs are tangled, break off like branches. The sound of birds, when there is the sound of birds, does not reach where they are. There is dust sound, scratch of leather against rock, the quivers the mouth makes. They fill the cavities of their ears with the liquid of things they've killed, something to hear. Lower their mouths in that ancient difference between hearing and daring. On busy roads they cartwheel as to blend with passing caravans, fingers held by dust. Limbs of children hang ornamental from caravan railings out of windows. The travelers see toes and fingers smaller than their own, pointing toward the road. Tomorrow, they say, tomorrow we will go home. Thank you. And now Theory Mint will introduce the next reader.